चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायिने कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्रिषे नमः। पंचतत्वात्मकं कृष्णं भक्तरूपस्वरूपकं भक्तावतारं भक्ताख्यं नमामि भक्तशक्तिकं। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जन्माद्यस्य तोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेषु भिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्म हृदयादिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, beginning from chapter number 1. So we completed chapter 29, in which Lord Kapila has explained about Bhakti Yoga, devotional service or path of love. And after explaining the Bhakti, then in the end he spoke about how everything is manifestation of Bhagavan. This is the central message of Bhagavatam and of the Vedic literature. If you read Upanishads, then there are many statements which explain that everything is the absolute reality. So this is repeated here also again and again, and he made a statement that it is only Bhagavan which manifests as Paramatma, which means the super soul in the heart of every living being, and also Brahman, the impersonal reality, all-pervading reality. And then all this material creation, this is also manifestation of energy of Bhagavan. And this is the problematic situation, because this is what covers the living entity. Jnanena avritam jnanam tena muhyanti jantava. Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that we are in the state of ignorance, although by nature we are conscious being, and therefore we are bewildered. So moha or bewilderment means when you consider one object for another. If you take a tree for a human being, then one will be called as a bewildered person. So here actually it's all manifestation of Bhagavan. It is Bhagavan only. but we are thinking that it is matter and we can control it, we can enjoy it. This is our bewilderment. And the proof of this bewilderment is that we are always unsuccessful in enjoying. Although we make efforts to enjoy and become happy without God, but sooner or later we come to this stark reality that we are a failure. There is one verse in Taittiriya Upanishad that you can become happy without God if you can cover the whole sky with leather. Charmvad akasam yadi pariveshtiyanti jana. So in other words, it is not possible to be happy without acknowledging God's presence. So God is there everywhere, He is there in everything, and we don't see Him anywhere, and we don't see Him anything, therefore we are in trouble. This is called bewilderment. So all this teaching is to come back to the original understanding and become free from the bewilderment and give up our useless effort to be happy without God. So we have an option. Happy we all want to be, with God, without God, but the option is that whether you want to be happy with God or without God. So without God we have tried and failed. So then we have again option that we can still try, because some people say that if you fail, don't give up. Again try and again try. Never give up. And other option is that you can stop. You don't give up, but you stop and think, why am I failing? Sukhaya karmani karoti lokena tat sukham angadoparamam va. So why is that I work for happiness and I end up in distress? There must be some reason behind it. So reason is that I am working in ignorance, and ignorance will give you ignorant result, not what you want. So that's why Lord Kapila is giving this knowledge, and he spoke that all this Pradhan, Purusha, Deva, the destiny, fate, karma, everything is manifestation of God. And then he spoke about time. The time is a very important thing, is entered everywhere, and it is making one person kill another person. This is the time. So wherever you see some disastrous thing happening, then it is time. It is doing it. We blame this person, that person, but behind everything is time. So in India, people at least unknowingly or knowingly make this statement. When some disastrous thing happens, somebody dies, they say, iska time aa gaya. His time has come. So Kal Prabhu is very powerful. And Kal means which devours everything. It has a big belly and everything goes inside. He's always gobbling up things, left, right, up, down, everywhere. So that's why he says that he is Kalaha Kalayatam Prabhu. Prabhu means he is very powerful, and he is Kalayatam. He gathers everyone. Kalayatam means he extracts or pulls or stores everything in his. And he has no friendship with anybody, you cannot bribe him. It says, Na chasya kaschid daito. There is nobody on whom he has compassion. He does not spare anyone. Young, old, beautiful, knowledgeable. He strikes everyone. This is his greatness. He does not hate anybody, nobody's friend. This is how he is. So like the sun shines everywhere, does not discriminate that this guy is not a nice fellow, I will not shine on him. This guy is nice, let me give more light to him, or more hours in a day. Nothing like that. So like that it works, and then he explained that how everything is happening out of fear of time. So in this chapter he is going to explain further the influence of time, and actually in next 3 chapters Kapila is going to explain various types of influence of time, and especially the suffering which people undergo. And this is basically to bring a sense of detachment in us, because we are very much attached to our own things, our body, our relations, friends, property, positions, country, our name, fame, whatever we have, or we think we have. So we are very much attached to that, and we are holding on to it. But time will not leave it. The time will come and it will go away. Whatever you have now, it will be taken away by time. It is already making an effort, slowly. And one day, you will see that it is gone, no matter how much you try to hold on to it. So this is what is being described in these upcoming chapters. Basically, upcoming chapters are a little bit depressing to hear them. So idea is not to become depressed, but become detached. We become depressed because we have desires, and we very much want to fulfill those desires. And when our desires are not fulfilled, then we have depression, we have fear, anxiety, stress, all these things happen. And these chapters are there only to explain to us actually that nobody's desire is ever fulfilled. Even when God comes, his desires are not fulfilled. Lord Ramchandra was making big arrangement to be coronated as the king. Next day was the ceremony, and then in between something happened, he was transported to the forest. Such a contrast. He was supposed to sit on the throne with all these people with chamara and umbrella on top, on the royal insignia, and then he was walking in the forest barefoot without any proper dressing. So, and there he has to face many problems. His wife was kidnapped, could not even protect his wife. Always God. So it is explained here in Bhagavatam itself that he performed all this Leela to teach us Martya Shikshanam, that all these activities, he behaving like a normal human being, to show how people suffer here, and so that we can learn. Intelligent people are those who can learn from others' experience. Second class intelligence is one who can learn from one's own experience. Third class never learns. They are adamant not to learn. They are very much determined that I will not learn. So they keep on getting slaps left and right. So that is being described here, so that we don't have to actually go through it. We can hear it, become educated, and not endeavor like that. So therefore Kapila says here in 3rd chapter, Tasya tasya jano nunam nayam vedoru vikramam kalyamano pi balino vayorive ghanavadihi. He says that these people here in this material world, they do not know the power of time. It's very powerful. Sometimes you take out some time to think about time and see how it is working. So he says that Vayoriva Ghanavali, just like you have this cloud which is thrown here and there by the wind. Cloud has no say. Cloud is hanging in the sky and the wind comes and wind takes the cloud. Sometimes breaks it into parts. Small pieces of cloud are hanging here and there. So cloud cannot say that don't do this, nor it has any power to oppose it. So he says that this is the example he is given. Kalyamano api balino, that although this Bali, very powerful, potent time, is always causing disturbance, but still we do not pay attention to it. Tasya tasya jano nunam nayam veda urukram. Very, very powerful. Urukram, Uru Vikramam. So Sri Vishnu Chakravarti, he comments on this. Nirgunam sagunam bhaktim jnana yogam yogaucha satvikau hari panchabhir adhyay darshyaamasa mataram. So he says that he is giving a gist that in the last 5 chapters, Lord Kapila, he instructed his mother in 2 types of bhakti. Nirguna bhakti means pure devotion, and saguna bhakti, or devotion with material motives, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. And jnana yoga is sattvic. And he also explained the path of jnana marg and yoga marg, which are sattvic. So these both paths, the path of jnana yoga and ashtanga yoga, they are sattvic, and they become also transcendental if they are performed with mixture of bhakti. Otherwise they are only sattvic. They can elevate you, but they will not liberate you. It's not possible. So this is what Lord Kapila has described in the previous 5 chapters. And adhyaya tritiyena tha kramena kil karmanam tamsim rajasim chapi sattvikim gatim akshayat trinshaya tarunya vriddhatvam mriti naraka yantranaha prahya sansarikanam stri putradya kuluchetasam. Now in 3 chapters in the order, he is going to explain the destination of works done in tamas, rajas and sattva. Means people who are working in this material world, what are the destinations they achieve by performing their actions. So there are 3 types of destinations. In Bhagavad Gita also Lord Krishna has described urdhvam gachanti sattvastha madhye tishtanti tamasa jaganya guna vrittistha adho gachanti tamasa. So madhye tishtanti rajasa, the rajasic people stay in the middle, sattvic go up and tamasic go down. So these 3 chapters will describe here. And in this particular chapter, which we are going to read now, he is going to describe the various types of suffering which materialistic people face, being attached to their wife, children, and undergoing the stages of youth, old age, death, and then after death going to hell and suffering there. But he will explain that although they suffer, they think they are enjoying. So this is the meaning of bewilderment. That bewilderment means that person is suffering, but he thinks he is enjoying. Because actually whether he suffer or he enjoy, it is a concept in the mind. In Yoga Sutra they say that sarvam dukkham vivekina. That for a viveki, parinam tap dukha, parinam tap sansara, sanskari, sarvam dukkham vivekina. So for a person who has knowledge, everything is suffering in this material. Lord Buddha also said this, Sarvam Dukkham Dukkham. Everything is misery. Krishna also says, Dukhalayam Shashvatam. This material world is house of misery and everything is temporary here. Yet, we seem to be having this concept that we are enjoying. So now he starts again, he is carrying over this idea of time from the previous chapter, where the influence of time was described. Now more specific influence is being described. Atha hari bhaktim vina vichitra karam kritam sansarikam dukkham adhyayatrayena prapancheti. So if one is not performing devotion to Lord Krishna, Supreme Lord Hari, then such a person performs various types of activities, vichitra karma. And then that is being described in this chapter and the next in 3 chapters, that by doing this different types of activities, how a person suffers. Different types of sufferings are also there. So we perform action and by law of karma we get an outcome of that action. And depending on what type of action we perform, we are put in a particular situation. And that situation makes us feel something, good, bad. That's how karma is working. So we keep on going through this cycle. And there is no end to it. There is no beginning of karma. And there is no end to it unless we take to bhakti. So without bhakti, we will continue. It will never stop. So it is like a machine which has been put into motion and it never stops. Although in science, in the law of motion, they said that you cannot have such a machine, that you start it and it will never stop. But karma is something like that. It doesn't stop unless you make an effort to stop it. Everybody is going on. You will find something. If you have your desires and I ask you to make a list of your desires and I instantly satisfy those desires, then what will you do? First of all, you will be bored completely, because desires are the things which keep your mind busy. And if all your desires are satisfied, you will be absolutely bored. You may even think of committing suicide without desires, because you don't know how to live without desires. And then you will create immediately more desires. So that's why rich people, they get bored. Usually poor people, they don't get bored. You don't find people in India who are bored. They may not be doing much, but they are not bored because they are poor. When people are rich, they get bored because when you have money, you can fulfill your desire quickly. You want to eat something, okay, go and buy it, eat it. Poor guy wants to eat something, he has no money. So he sits down and he dreams about it. If not in daytime, he dreams at night. Or he watches a movie. That's why people are glued to the TV, they're trying to satisfy their desire by sitting. So rich people, they want to go somewhere, they go there, they want this, they get it. Then they get bored. So they do all kinds of crazy things then, or just to get rid of their boredom, because they cannot live without desire, they have not been trained. The good thing will be, okay, your desire is fulfilled, now you get into some japa, Prabhu, chant some Mahamantra, sit down. So it is not possible. Then mind will create unnecessary desires. So then they get into some criminal activities. This is called white collar crime. Usually people think that only poor people, needy people do crime. Rich people do just for the fun. They don't need it. But they are so bored, they have to exercise their intelligence, they have to satisfy their ego. So they get into some crazy thing. They will do some funny thing. And then they derive pleasure from that. So therefore he says that Hari Bhaktim Vina Vichitra Karam Kritam. Without devotion, people do all kinds of crazy things. Basically, Vichitra means various types, but it also means crazy type of things they will do. And then when you do, then you have to get the result. That you cannot avoid. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Sri Krishna says that you have the right to do an action. Once the action is done, it's like you have shot the arrow. Now you have no control over it. Then the result will come. And result is not in your hand. God is very clever. He allows you to do action, but the result He keeps in His hand. So then He tells time, okay, time, now you take care of this guy. So then you are troubled. Then you are in trouble, then you find a solution for it. So we create troubles for ourselves. Mind is always creating problems. So he says that, and then the outcome is dukkha, suffering. Everybody suffers. Rich, poor, young, old, no matter, male, female, everyone. This is the universal principle. Tasya kalasya balina iti cha patha. So why? Because of the time. It is very, very powerful. No one can have any opposition or any control over the time. And sometimes you can feel happy, sometimes suffering. So then next he makes very nice statement. Yam yam artham upadatte dukkhena sukha hetave tam tam dhanoti bhagwan puman chochati yat krite. So that's why I said that by reading this you may feel depressed. So he says that whatever object you want or you gain, you work hard to gain some object, some power, position. And sukha hetave, obviously your intention is to get happiness. But the outcome is that to get it you have to go through the suffering. You go to work, so you have to go through some trouble. It's not that you really like to do that. You have to get up in the morning, then drive or catch a train or tube railway or whatever, then reach your office. And then you make money. So money is your desirable goal because you think that this will give you happiness. So for the sake of happiness you do your work which is miserable. And then what happens? That whatever you gain with that money or that object, then time comes and destroys it in one shot. So like children, they are playing on the beach, they make some house and some bully comes and kicks it. And then the child is crying. So like that we do something and then some incident happens, somebody works against you, then it is destroyed. So tam tam dhanoti bhagwan, this powerful Lord, and puman chochati akrute, for whose sake you are thinking or trying to achieve, all that is destroyed. So that means God is actually very cruel. Right? that you try to do something for your happiness and he's just smashing it. Whatever you want to get for happiness. Of course, you have to always remember that here, all this is a description of non-devotees. It's not talking about devotees. That's why he made a statement, Hari Bhaktim Vina. That people who are working outside the realm of devotion. And this is their story. That you go through trouble, you attain something and then you lose it. So you attain and then you lose, then you attain and then you lose. So why you lose it? Because of the time. So the word Bhagavan here is not for Krishna. Bhagavan means Kal, time. Because this time is always trying to separate you from your possessions. Whatever you have with you, time is separating it. It's just a matter of time. What you have will be taken away. Whether it is your beauty, power, wealth, relations, land, wife, children, they will be separated from you. Separation is the end result. Time is working even when you are sleeping. Time does not stop. Right? The watch works at night also. If it stops, you will put a battery in it. Then it continues to work. So time never stops. And it never gets tired. It is moving. I don't know if you have seen this serial called Mahabharata. Mahabharata serial. So in the beginning, what do they show? Before every episode, they have a very nice sloka and then they speak and say, this is the story of time. Right? Have you seen it? So this whole thing is presented very nicely in Mahabharata. So they actually show that this whole story is the story of time. It is actually, they have made the serial as if time is telling the story. Because time says that I have witnessed everything. Because when Krishna was there, time was there, same time. And then Pandavas were there, and before that so many kings. So it is actually time who speaks this whole Mahabharata. He has made it very nicely like that. So time is working all the time, and you cannot think of any time without time. You cannot think what will be there without time. Like now scientists are trying to figure out what happened at zero time. But there is no such thing as zero time. There is also time at that time. So this time, he says, yam yam artham upadatte dukkhena sukhetave tam tam artham kalo dhunoti. So yada dhruvasya dehasya sanubandhasya durmatihi dhruvani mannate mohad griya kshetra vasunicha janturvai bhave tasmin yam yam yoni manubrajet tasyam salante nirvritim na virajyate. So now he gives little more detail. He says that yad adhruvasya dehasya sanubandhasya durmati dhruvani mannate mohad. This is one characteristic of moha, bewilderment, which I was talking. To misunderstand one thing for another, that is called bewilderment or confusion. Moha means confusion. So you mistake the sunlight reflecting in the hot sand as for water. That is moha. Or to consider the rope as a snake. That is moha. So he says that yad adhruvasya dehasya. He says this body is temporary. Everybody knows this. The beauty is that everybody knows that, but still we don't want to accept that it is temporary. We are very adamant on this, that no, we will not accept this fact, that it is temporary. So he says this is the prime moha, this is the prime bewilderment, the topmost. All other bewilderments are the babies of this prime bewilderment. The body is adhruva, it is temporary. At least we all have seen how body has changed. And as I explained in yesterday's class, that it is actually changing every second. It looks to be stationary because the body which was 1 second before and the body which is now, they are similar. They are not same. Because many cells are dying every second. So many cells die. And so many are being produced. So it is never the same. Like the flow of water in a river, then river is not the same river, but we say, oh, it is the same river. So that sameness is because of similarity, it is not same. So our body is never the same. We are not the same person. We are changing every minute, every second, every moment. And yet we think that body is permanent. And sanubandhasya, and everything related to the body is also temporary. If body itself is temporary, then what to speak of things which are related to body? They are double temporary. So he says that, but out of bewilderment, dhruvani manyate, a person thinks that this is permanent. And griha kshetra vasunicha, my house, my land, my wealth, my relatives, these are all temporary, but I consider all of them as permanent. So these are the usual objects of attachment. First one is body, and then relatives, then house, then some other property, wealth. So shoke hetu, what is the cause of lamentation which was described in the previous verse? Puman choshati yatkrite, and the person is lamenting for this. He says, because sanubandhasya kalatrita sahitasya, that all these things which are temporary, you consider them permanent, but then you find that one day they are gone. So then you lament. Because in the mind we were thinking that we will be together always. But it does not happen. Janturvai bhave tasmin yam yam yoni manubrajet tasyam salamte nirvritim na viranjate. Then what is the effect of this bewilderment? That no matter in which species of life a person goes or a soul goes, in that very species of life he feels satisfied and does not want to give it up. So we are human beings and we think that we are better than animals, better than a dog or a cat or a mosquito or a rat. But actually if you ask a rat, would you like to become a human being, he will refuse. Because wherever he goes, there is attachment in that. So there is a very interesting story in Mahabharata that Narada, who is a great sage and devotee of the Lord and who has the power of travelling anywhere. So he came to the material world, he saw people suffering. So he thought, what is this? God is very cruel. People think like that. God is very cruel, it is also described. So he went to Lord Vishnu and he said, I went to this place called Martyaloka, the place of death. Everybody is suffering. Why don't you bring people here to Vaikuntha and let them be happy eternally? So Lord Vishnu said, but nobody wants to come. What can I do? So Narada said, how is that possible? If you are suffering in heat and you are sweating, and I say come inside the room which is air conditioned, you will be happy? So he said, no, they don't want to come here. So Narada said, but I don't believe this. So he said, okay, you go there and I give you the power that anybody wants to come to Vaikuntha, you can bring them. So Narada was very happy. He thought that he will go and he will bring busload of people to Vaikuntha. So he went to one village and he was going in the street shouting that you people come with me, I will take you to Vaikuntha. So people came out, they heard what he was saying and they laughed. He said, this guy's gone crazy. He will take us to Vaikuntha. So Narada was thinking that as soon as he says this, everybody will just follow him like a bagpiper. And he was explaining how Vaikuntha is the place of happiness. There is no old age, no one dies there, nobody is sick. There's plenty of food, you live eternally young. Not that people may not know Vaikuntha, he was explaining. So nobody came. They heard him, said very nice, and they thought that something has gone wrong in his head, and they walked away. So Narada got very suspicious. He says, am I doing something wrong? So then he thought, instead of making announcement like this, I go door to door and I preach one-on-one. So he started going from house to house and trying to convince people, but nobody wanted to go with him. Everybody said, no, I'm not interested in this, I'm all right here, I have my wife, children, my land, my bulls, cows, whatever they had. So he got very frustrated. He says, not even one person wants to come. So finally he went to the last house and he really preached to this guy, So this man became convinced. When you work on somebody and you preach nicely, then you can influence. But the influence does not stay very long. Again, like you stretch a rubber band, as soon as you leave it, it's back to its original position. So he stretched this fellow, and for a short period he got ready. He said, yes, I will come with you to Vaikuntha. So now, because Narada was feeling embarrassed, I go back and I don't take even one person with me. And what Lord Vishnu will think? So he said, yes, I will come to Vaikuntha, but I have a condition. So Narada says, I will fulfill any condition, at least I want one guy. So he says, what is the condition? He said, the condition is that I have a son and I will go with you when he gets married. In India, this is a big deal. In the West, you may laugh at this, but in India, people are very much concerned and feel very much responsible to get their children married. And you have seen what a big show is marriage in India, right? How much noise they make, band and this and dancing. This is a very big occasion. Marriage is one of the very important occasions in India. They spend all their earning just for the marriage. Some people work all their life just for this one show. It's unbelievable for Western people. And they will borrow and then they will be paying the debt. One of the cause of corruption in India is this marriage. Because people don't have enough money for the marriage ceremony, so they devise all illegal means how to get money. So Narada said, okay, I will wait. So he waited, then he came back and he asked this man, so now has your son got married? And he said, he is married. So he said, okay, let's go, you come with me, I take you to Vaikuntha. So this man said, well, there is one more desire I have. He said, what is that? He said, I want to see the face of my grandson. Because grandson is very attractive, cute. So people are very much happy when they get a grandchild. That's why it's called grand. It's not an ordinary child, it's a grandchild, right? So Narada was little becoming doubtful that what is this guy every time he brings up his condition. So he says, all right. So he waited. Now the child was born, he came again. So he said, let's go now. He says, come on, give me a little time, I play with my grandchild, see how cute he is. And so nice that he says few words. These are like the Vedic mantras. So let him grow up a little bit. So Narada said, all right, he had no choice because nobody else was ready to go with him. So he agreed. But now when he came next time, in the meantime this man died. So he came and he asked the son who was married and had a son, he says, where is your father? So he says, my father went to Vaikuntha. Because somebody dies in India, they say, oh, Vaikuntha vasi ho gaya. You say he went to heaven, he's gone to heaven, he's gone to Vaikuntha. So Narada said, how can he go to Vaikuntha without me? What is this? I've been pursuing this case for so long and now he left without me. This is not fair. So anyway, Narada knew that he cannot go to Vaikuntha like that. You don't reach Vaikuntha unless you have performed devotional service. So by his mystic power, he figured out where he has taken birth. So he has become a calf and he was already a bull because in 2 years he became a bull. And he was in the same house, tied in front of the house, and was being used for the bullock cart. So Narada went to the bull and he spoke to him, so how are you doing? So he said, well, I'm so happy. See, I see my son and I see my grandson every day and I'm here in the same house. So he says, you don't want to go to Vaikuntha? He says, forget about Vaikuntha. What pleasure is there in Vaikuntha? And he says, but you don't feel pain that you have to carry this bullock cart on your neck? This yoke is put and then you have to go and plow the field. He said, yeah, that is very painful, but when I come back and see my son and grandson, then I feel so happy that I can tolerate all this misery. So he tried to convince the bull, but the bull did not agree. So then he said, anyway, let me stay some time, give me some more time, and I will definitely come with you, but I don't want to leave, my family people like this. When I get little old, you can come. Now I am helping my son because I am very hard working. So now he said, all right, he left. But when he came back, in the meantime, the bull also died. Because they don't live so long. So now he has become a dog. And he was in front of the same house. So Narada found out that he is a dog. And he approached the dog. He says, how do you feel now? So he said, well, I'm really very satisfied. I'm sitting in front of my own house. And now my grandson, see, he has become a young man. And soon he will get married. And I will have darshan of my grandchildren. And so I said, but why you sit here on the ground and you get all these few chapatis are thrown at you. And sometimes they are chasing you in a stick. And the children may twist your tail. It was thrown at you. In India, dogs don't have a good life. if you tell about dogs in the West, they think what you are saying, because dogs in the West are enjoying. The owner works whole day hard and the dog is sitting in the house. Dogs are really having fun in the West. The dog has no anxiety about the tax, about the insurance.
They even now have spas, day spa for the dog.
Yeah, they have all kinds of things. Now they have something called doga. You don't know this.
What?
Doga.
Yoga.
Yeah,
Go for it, go.
this is the
Yoga for dogs.
this is the yoga for the dog. So they call it doga. And they have dog parks. When you take your dog and there are other dogs coming there. I mean, dogs are having a real good time. They have their socialization. And no worries. They don't get problem of divorce and alimony, palimony. So, but in India, the story of dog is different. So he said, what, you are living a dog life and you come to Vaikuntha, I will be so happy. So this dog refused and he says, not now. If I go now, who will take care of the house? The thieves will come. You see, the attachment is still there. The thieves will come. Many times these dogs which are hanging around somebody's house, they may be actually the owner of that house in the previous life. That's why they hang around that house. Sometimes they become snakes and there will be a snake around the house also. Because this attachment is so strong. Because the consciousness, attachment, these are all causal, instrumental in the next life. So now Narada, he said, wait, somebody, maybe these children will have more children, they can protect the house. Now I have to protect the house, I am the guard. Because my son is stupid and careless. So Narada left, and in the next time he came, the dog died also. Now he had become a worm. So he figured out the worm was lying right there in the drain. So Narada lifted the worm with a stick from the drain and the worm started shouting. Says, what are you doing? I am so comfortable here in this garbage, in this drain, and you're taking me out of my heaven. So Narada said, have you forgotten? He reminded him. So he says, yeah, I remember, but I don't want to go. And he says, this whatever garbage comes in the drain, some food stuff, they are coming and I'm enjoying that and I'm peaceful. So it is described that finally Narada, he took the worm forcibly to Vaikuntha. And then Lord Vishnu asked him, so how many people have you brought? So Narada said, well, I understand what you mean, but with great difficulty I got one worm. And that also by force. So this is what this verse is describing. That jantur vai bhavaye tasmin yam yam yonim anubrajet. This is a fact that in whichever species of life one takes birth, he or she becomes conditioned with that and doesn't want to leave that. There's another story like this, that once Indra, he became a pig because of the curse. And then he did not want to give up this pig body. When the time he was cursed to be pig for certain years, and then he did not want to leave this position because he was female pig and he has piglets around him, they were suckling the breast. And he said, well, I'm so happy here lying in this dirt and with these my little piglets around me. I don't want to go to heaven and be the king of heaven. So this is attachment, is very strong. And although on one side, this is a paradox, on one side everybody suffers, as he explained, but there is also attachment to whatever species of life we are, and we also derive some kind of satisfaction from that attachment. that we don't want to give up that. People who are living in the shanties, in the slum, they also become attached to that smell and that environment, and they are satisfied there. On one side they will dream of getting out, on the other side they will miss it. So this is the meaning of this. So durmatitvam darshayati, that in this verse Lord is explaining the bewilderment. This is the bewilderment. That person does not want to get out from that situation. So narakastopi deham vai na pumans taktum ichchati. That even if one is having a hellish body and situated in naraka, in the hell, does not want to give up. Although hell, as we will read later on, they will be described here, that they are place of misery. Everybody is suffering there. So don't make waves. You know that? There was one man, he went to hell. So the in charge of hell asked him that you can choose in which you want to go. So he went from one place to another place. There are many places, different types of hell. And outside every hell he heard the loud cries of people who are inside, how they are crying and suffering. So he passed all of them. Finally he came to one place, it was very quiet. No cry, no sound or anything, noise coming from inside. So he thought that this seems like the place I would like to take. So he told the in charge that I will go in this. So he opened the door for him and he was pushed in. And when he was pushed in, there were people standing all inside that. And they were saying, don't make waves, because they were all standing in, this room was full of shit and up to the nose. So they're saying, don't make waves. So he says that narkastopi deham vai na pumans taktum ichchati, that even a person who is in hell, this is called conditioning, that you become so conditioned that you don't want to give up this. Narakyam nirvritau satyam deva maya vimohata. Being bewildered by the maya of the Lord, person feels satisfied there also, even in this hellish situation or hellish body. So he says this is the situation of the materialistic people, and especially people who are in ignorance. Because if you remember, he said that in these 3 chapters there is a description of people who are in tamas, rajas and sattva. So people who are in ignorance, they are actually like that. They like this situation because of their ignorance and bewilderment. So I will stop here and he will continue to explain the condition of a material being in the material world, how the person suffers under different situations out of karma. So if there is any question.
So you said that without desires the mind becomes bored.
Yeah. Because mind wants some engagement. If you are not a yogi and if you are not a devotee, then mind needs some.
So is it actually possible for a non-spiritual person, a materialistic person, to be without desires? Not possible.
Well, if somebody is like insane, you lose your head, then you will not get bored, like an animal.
So practically speaking, in material life,
More intelligent you are, more you have the possibility of becoming bored.
in material life.
Yeah.
So
The
like
more dull you are, then like in tamoguna, tamoguna means inactive, inertia, laziness.
so that means to stay sane in material life you have to cultivate desires.
Yes.
Whereas in spiritual life you have to kind of get rid of your desires, isn't it? Become desireless, at
No,
least materially.
I have only one desire, which is not called a desire in the material sense.
So desires in a materialistic person's mind come from samskaras, from riches.
Yeah. Previous experiences give, because whatever experience you have, you will get two types of outcome of that. Either you like that experience or you don't like that experience. So then it will be stored. Experiences are stored in the heart and they are stored with this knowledge, whether it was a likable experience or not a likable experience. And then of course there are different degrees in that. So if your experience was likable, you enjoyed it, you relished it, then it will give you a desire to have a repetition of that. And if it was not a likable experience, then you will have a desire not to have it again. So now depending on the intensity of your enjoyment, then the desires will come more frequently of that experience. There are many things we enjoy, but the thing which you enjoy most, then that will always pop up in your mind. And samskaras become activated because of different reasons. One of the very common reasons is similarity. That if you see another thing similar, or an object which you have enjoyed, and same object or similar object comes in front of you, then immediately the desire will come. Or you may hear about it. So that is one. And time is another one. Time also brings samskaras.
So now all this samskaras and experience thing box in the mind, in the consciousness, becomes dismantled by someone who is engaged in bhakti, who fixes his mind on
Yeah, they are
Krishna.
deactivated.
Deactivated.
Yeah. When you engage in devotional service, then first they are made weak, because they also have some weight, some power, the samskaras. All samskaras are not equally strong. Some are stronger than the others. So as I said, depending on how what was the consciousness when that experience happened. So correspondingly there is strength of that samskara, that impression. If you got terrified, and how much you got terrified, so this will create a very deep samskara. Then you get into fear, anything similar happens. So then these samskaras, they become weaker and weaker by performing devotional service, and finally as you advance in devotional service, they can be deactivated so that they don't bother you anymore. They are there, you understand them, but you are not influenced by them.
So this means the detachment has been
Yes.
taking place.
Yeah, real detachment means not having interest. You don't have to practice it. It's natural.
So-
Janayati asu vairagyam jnanam chedahati. So vairagya comes naturally by practice of devotion.
So now this example or story of Bilva Mangala Thakur just came into my mind. You had that strong desire for this prostitute,
Mm-hmm.
although he was already on a let's say, on the spiritual path, isn't it? So this is possible that even if on the path of bhakti, that for some whatever reason suddenly a strong desire comes, although
Yeah, sometimes it can be cause of some offense. I mean, because of some offense, and then your knowledge gets covered. And then when that thing has been nullified by going through the experience, then you're back in your own state. So then even a small statement will remind you back. As Krishna says that Swadharma ati vartate, that person's mind is forced to follow that. And Arjuna is asking this question in the 6th chapter. That what happens if a yogi does not make it? He falls down. Is he lost completely? So he says, no, it is not lost. He will get some material situation and then he will be pushed onto this path again. So this is what happens.
so it's not that on the bhakti marga one can really be once and for all overpowered by desire, by a material desire.
Not if one is not committing a heinous offense, then it is not possible. The only problem is if there is a strong offense committed. Otherwise, desires will not deviate a person. They can be influential, but will not give up devotional service to the Lord.
Maharaj, you spoke about the many desires and the one desire. So now I'm wondering if even Narada Muni couldn't invoke this one desire in the soul, so then how is it possible to come to this one desire?
And it happens by the grace only. Otherwise, it's not possible. Mahat Sevya Vipra. So by service, by doing service or by association, then one develops Shraddha in Shastra. Otherwise it's not possible. Mahat Sevya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanath. Any other question?